Can tiaras be cursed? Now, while you might not think so or might not hope so, because these gorgeous gemstones that we look at every week have just such a stunning, stunning look. However, they can also be cursed. And today we're going to look at one particular tiara that not only seemed to kill every head it sat upon, including ended up killing the gentleman who is behind the creation of it, it also survived a plane crash that killed everyone else on board. So get ready for a little bit of a spooky edition of Tiara Thursday. But if you guys haven't been to Royal Fashion News before, hello, my name is Brittany, and I have a passion for royal fashion and all things that glitter. So if you guys want to hit that subscribe button, I would absolutely love to have you back. This is not our normal setup or ambiance, but it seemed appropriate for the occasion. So guys, again, hit that subscribe button. And let's go ahead and get into the story here, because one of my favorite things in the world is strawberries. And there was a particular strawberry leaf tiara that sadly seems to kill whose ever head it sits upon.
Though that technically could be said for most tiaras, as obviously usually the wearer does die at some point.
And this was a particular tiara that was commissioned by the husband of Queen Victoria, Prince Albert, in 1861. And so the design of the tiara was meant to emulate foliage and strawberry leaves. And it was a wedding gift to Princess Alice, their second daughter, when she married Louis IV of Hesse and by Rhine. Unfortunately, very, very sadly, although Prince Albert actually had a pretty good sense for tiara design, he designed a couple, he died very suddenly of typhoid right before her wedding. And because of that, obviously we all know Queen Victoria mourned Prince Albert very, very deeply. So for the occasion of her wedding, it had to be downgraded quite severely because of this heavy mourning that Queen Victoria was in at the time. So Princess Alice, of course, enjoyed this particular tiara and took it with her to her new home in Germany. However, this marriage was not a happy one for Princess Alice. She and her husband did not get along well, and then in May of 1873, her youngest and also favorite son, Frederick, died after falling 20 feet from a window. And he was suffering from hemophilia, which was a constant within, obviously, Victoria's descendants. And Alice never recovered after his death. And then just 5 years later, in 1878, the entire household fell ill with diphtheria. She lost another child to the disease, this time Marie, and it was something that she ended up keeping hidden from the rest of her children for weeks until she finally told her son Ernst, who did not take it well. Alice decided to give her son a comforting kiss, which infected her with the disease. And on the anniversary of her father's death, she became ill from the diphtheria she caught from her son and died on the same day at the tender age of just 35, compounding the grief of her mother, Queen Victoria, who lived 20 years after her death. And she was the first of Victoria's children to die. Now, of course, y'all know diseases like that were fairly common in those days, so that's not a super large surprise, but it remains an interesting fact. And so the Hesse family, the tiara passed then on to Alice's oldest son, and this is Ernst. And it was worn by his wife, Grand Duchess Victoria Militia, to the coronation of Tsar Nicholas II of Russia. And if you remember your Russian history, you shall know Nicholas II and his entire family met a very unfortunate end at the hand of the Bolsheviks. So you could say where this tiara went, trouble seemed to follow. And the marriage between Ernst and his wife was far, far from happy, but the couple were forced to stay married because his mother liked their daughter, their only child, Princess Elizabeth. She was even so blessed that she was her great-grandmother, Queen Victoria's favorite, and was called my precious by her. And she was the first to receive 80th birthday greetings in 1899. And she was also brought in to see the queen after her death in January of 1901 and was told that great-grandmother had gone to be with the angels, and she apparently whispered, "But I don't see the wings." Sadly, Elizabeth also died very young at the age of 8, only 2 years after her great-grandmother had passed away. According to reports, it was from typhoid fever, though rumors at the Russian court, where her mother remarried, alleged that she had been killed as a result of poison intended for her uncle, Tsar Nicholas II. Yes, Ernst and Victoria got divorced after the death of Queen Victoria. In some allegations, Victoria believed that her husband was philandering with some of the male help within the household. But being the ever dutiful royal, Ernst remarried, this time to Eleanor of Solms-Hohenstolz-Leash in 1905. And so their eldest son, George Donatas, hereditary Grand Duke of Hesse, married Princess Cecile of Greece and Denmark, who just happens to be the sister of Prince Philip, the husband of Queen Elizabeth II. And Eleanor ended up wearing this particular tiara to the coronation of King George VI in 1937. And of course, we all know as well, King George did not even make it 20 years on the throne, as he died quite young, leaving the throne to his daughter, Queen Elizabeth II. Where this tiara goes to coronation, sad things seem to follow, but the worst was yet to come. As a little less than a year later, Grand Duchess Eleanor, her son, hereditary Grand Duke George, and his wife Cecile, their 2 young sons. Cecile was also heavily pregnant at the time. They had nurses and nannies aboard a flight destined for England for the marriage of Eleanor's other son, Prince Louis. Very sadly and tragically, the flight ended up crash landing in bad weather after hitting a chimney. The most likely result of this emergency landing was that perhaps Cecile had gone into labor and given birth on the flight, as in the remains of the aircraft, they found the couple's newly born child. But when it comes to the tiara in that crash landing did not suffer a scratch, as it was found in its box perfectly fine, in addition to another tiara there as well. Seems like tragedy just seems to follow this particular tiara wherever it goes. Because of that wedding itself was also small. So now we have 2 instances where the previous owner / creator of the tiara happened to die right before a wedding, resulting in a smaller wedding. And Prince Louis ended up dying childless in 1968. And since then, the heredity line of Hesse and by Rhine has completely died out. And the tiara remains within the foundation of the House of Hesse and has occasionally been on display, but never has it sat on the head of another lady, because trouble seems to follow this particular tiara. Now, the grand question is, will anyone wear it in the future? And is it really cursed, or merely has seen some unfortunate events surrounding it? I will leave that up to you to decide, but I hope you guys enjoyed a little history of the Hesse by the Rhine family tiara, which sadly seemed to include a series of tragedies in its wake. So guys, again, thank you so much for watching this spooky edition of Tiara Thursday. Let me know what you think down below. I would love to get your thoughts, and I shall see you again very soon, or shall I? All right, guys, thank you so much for watching.
We don't count the carats, we count the centuries.